Zappiti's going out of business, but that doesn't mean you're left out in the cold. Today, we're going to cover 8 different ways you can continue to watch content in your home theater. Before we get started, if you're into tech, hi-fi, or movies, be sure to push the subscribe button for new weekly videos. Zappiti is no longer with us. Rest in peace, Zappiti. Now, for you that don't know what Zappiti is a file player for your home theater. So you can have a little box and a hard drive, and you put a bunch of movies in there. And typically, people will rip DVDs and Blu-rays and 4Ks and put these out on a NAS or a local hard drive attached to a Zappiti device. And then you have a really nice UI that is very Kaleidescape-esque. Um, and then you can watch these in your theater, right? You don't have to pull out a disc, right? It's really handy. You can be creative with the artwork for your movies, and you can create collections, all kinds of stuff. And it's kind of a fun system to have in place. But the sad news is that the system is no longer in place because they are going out of business. We're going to go ahead and jump in now and talk about different ways that you can consume content, whether it's with files or not. And we're going to start out with the ones that I think will be less popular, and then move through to some more popular ones that I think might be a little bit more digestible for people. First up, we've got streaming. And I know that is not an answer that most of you want to hear at all. Um, but streaming is something to consider. And there's like a billion different streaming services. Of course, people will say, well, that's part of the problem. And I agree. It's a very fragmented market right now, but there will be consolidation that happens over time. And you'll see these things merge together. Content will move around. And there's a lot of downsides to the streaming model, but there are a lot of upsides as well. You don't own the content, meaning that you pay a monthly subscription and whatever they show is what you can watch. And if they want to change the content, they can do that too. Whereas if you've got a physical disc or a ripped file sitting at your house, that nobody can do anything with that, right? It's yours. You've got it there. All right. Now, next up is a home theater PC. Now, this is a high level of effort solution, right? And I don't necessarily recommend that anybody go down this path unless you just really like pain. It is a way to host server software, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And you could also just use it with a video player and point it toward a file that's sitting on a hard drive somewhere, a NAS or a local disk or a USB stick, and watch things that way as well. Now, you don't have all of the cool UI if you don't have some kind of server software that does that for you. But you can get access to all of those files. Zappiti doesn't do anything magical to the files to make them disappear or go away, right? They are available, right? You can still use them with a number of different pieces of equipment, right? Because they're MKVs or MOV files or MP4s or whatever you might have ripped to. Hopefully, they're lossless MKVs that have all of the quality there. That's the way I would do it if I were doing it. And that's the way that I did do it in the past. But building a home theater PC is likely the most painful and potentially most expensive way, although some of the boxed players out there are really expensive now. And okay, here's Kaleidescape. I told you I was going to list all the things that might not be super palatable to everyone. And Kaleidescape, that's what I use. When I jumped out of the ripping your movie scenario, I moved to this format because I had discs and I wanted to be able to leverage that investment to a certain extent. And you could take the discs and upload them not upload them, but you can put them into a Kaleidescape box and it'll say, oh, you bought the disc, so we'll sell you the digital copy for cheap, that kind of thing. It doesn't rip though, right? That's the distinction between Kaleidescape and any of the others, the Zappiti, the Zidoos, the Dunes, etc. Right? They have to rip the disk to a file. Well, the Kaleidescape, the only disk interaction you have is to say, "Hey, I own this," so that you can buy a digital copy, not a stream, a copy that you can download to your server at a lower price. So it is an option, and it's probably the highest quality option. Although for most folks, you won't really be able to tell a difference between 4K disc and Kaleidescape. Magnetar. Now I'm about to do a Magnetar, the 800 series model review video, which is a really awesome Blu-ray player. And I think Magnetars are being sold by the same distribution folks. And please correct me if I'm wrong about this, everybody. By the same distribution folks that were selling Zappiti, which is interesting, right? So maybe this is how the folks behind Zappiti live on, right, with the Magnetar Blu-ray player brand. But these are likely some of the best Blu-ray players out there. In my experience so far, I prefer this than my more than my Panasonic Blu-ray player, and this is an option, right, for folks. So if your Zappiti goes away and you need a way to play your discs, right? This will do it because you ripped your files from your discs, right? And you didn't download them, hopefully. So this is an alternative way to do that. Plex has been around for a very long time. I've had a Plex Pass since the very beginning, and God, it's got to be 10, 15 years or something. I mean, they've been out there forever. And they started out purely as a server to play back files, and you'd have to build your own hardware in one way or another to do that. Now, today they are really rebranding, and if you look, I've got their website up, and you can see that their title here. And this is what when you go there, this is the first thing you see: meet your TV concierge, start streaming. Right? It doesn't say install your server and watch your files. They are calling out streaming. So they are all in on becoming the tool that you use to manage your streaming experience. Now, does that mean that that is going to be the strategy that overtakes the Plex philosophy down the line? I don't know, but they definitely have pivoted in this age of streaming from purely Plex server. Now they still have a right here at the top, your media, right? Um, so you can get Plex Media Server, and it's right here. This next item is what most people will typically use for Plex, and that is the nVidia Shield. And I love the nVidia Shield. This is one of my favorite pieces of hardware. And I've got two favorite pieces of hardware for consuming content. Well, I guess three now. So my go-tos are the nVidia Shield, the Pro, not the basic, not the tube. Don't get the tube. I've got a tube and I never use the tube. Get the Pro. And you can use that to stream. You can also use it to run Plex server. My other piece of hardware, of course, is my Kaleidescape, which I love, and then the Magnetar disc spinner, right? So those are my three go-tos right now, and for me, that covers everything that I could ever possibly want. Dune, Dune player. Dune's been around forever and a day as well. It's been here a long time, and I haven't owned a Dune. I don't know that I ever actually did own a Dune ever. But they do everything, and you can buy one that costs $1,500 if you want the Dune HD Ultra Vision 4K. But there are lots of different players, right? There's even a Homatics version of Dune, and that's Homatics for people in the United States. Is a very popular brand outside of the U.S. And they make all kinds of stuff. But this is another option. It's got Dolby Vision, and it's got all the bells and whistles, right? So this is an option if you want to have a physical box that is dedicated to playing back files like your Zappiti was in the past. Zidoo. And this is, I think, likely the most interesting, viable competitor to Zappiti out there. However, when you go to shop.zidoo.tv, they don't even have their boxes available for purchase. You can buy a remote control, and you can buy their Ever Solo stuff if you want to. But they're not there, right? You can go to the Chinese webpage and look at all the products, but they are not here on this sales site for the United States. So that makes me a little curious and a little concerned. I have a Z9X, I think it is, and I think there's a Z9X Pro, and I think I'm saying the model number correctly there. And so I've used theirs, and they're all Dolby Vision and everything, and they're really nice. And I had absolutely no issues with it, and I thought they were great players, did a really great job. Um, so if you want a replacement that is the analog, I mean the same thing basically that you had before, I think Zidoo probably is going to be the closest product for you where you can just buy it and use it in the same way. All right, everybody. I think that is going to close us off for today. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, everybody, you folks that are watching right now, please push the subscribe button. That's how you can say thanks. Unless you hated this, then you could just send me a middle finger emoji, and then I'll understand. But if you're not sending me the middle finger emoji, please hit the subscribe button and share this with your buddies. If you have a friend that is a Zappiti user and they find themselves lost in the world today, point them this way, and these will be some options to help them get back on the path to watching content again. All right. Thanks, everybody. As always, see you guys in the next video.